Hey guys, Chris Graham here. If you are having trouble in your home studio, I'm gonna guess that this story is gonna feel a little familiar to you. You've been working on a song for a couple of days and you get to a point with the mix where all of a sudden, for the first time, you have that magic moment where you're thinking, oh man, this is actually pretty cool. This is awesome. So you keep working on it. And about an hour or two later, all of a sudden, your reaction's totally the opposite. Oh my God, this song is awful. Oh, this sounds terrible. Ah! And this sort of like back and forth of, magic happens. You have this moment where you're super pumped about how a song sounds, and then it just sort of falls apart. You keep messing with the mix, you keep adding tracks, and all of a sudden, it's terrible. When I was a kid, I used to love watching Tommy Boy. It's a Chris Farley movie, and it's hilarious. And there's a scene in Tommy Boy where Chris Farley really sums up our struggle as audio people, as home studio people, how we encounter this magic moment and then we just keep working and it falls apart. Check out this clip from Tommy Boy. I think you're gonna be able to relate to it.
Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman. Let's say I go into some guy's office. Let's say he's even remotely interested in buying something. Well, then I get all excited. I'm like, Jojo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. The pet is my possible sale. Oh, my pretty little pet. I love you. So I stroke it, I pet it, I massage it. Yeah, I love it. I love my little naughty pet. You're naughty. And then I take my naughty pet and I go. Oh! I killed it! I killed my sale. That's when I blow it. That's when people like us have got to forge ahead, Helen. Am I right?
All right, so this is something I call the arc of art, and this works for mixing, this works for mastering, for editing, for basically any type of art where you've made it and you're trying to finish it. You're 90% done with your art and you only have a little bit more to go and then you're done. What happens is when we start mixing a song, that song has some magic. We've put almost no time into it. This would be essentially our rough mix at this point. And as we begin to put time into this song, it gets more and more and more magical until it peaks. It hits peak magic right here. And this is when Tommy Boy talks about this idea of, he's got the sale and he says, oh, you're naughty, I love you. And then all of a sudden, it starts to do this. The quality starts to go down because he won't stop. He won't be quiet and let the sale happen. We're the same in the studio where we get fixated on making this magic and we assume, oh, the more time we put in, the more magic it's gonna get. It doesn't work that way in the studio. There's a great saying that's really popular in the music industry, and it's this: you never finish a song, you give up. And there's a really, really, really wonderful quote from John Lasseter. He's the guy that's the CEO of Pixar, and he says, I quote, "We don't finish films, we release them." So what he's talking about here is that he looks for peak magic and then he releases it. And this is something that we need to embrace as the recording industry because we're notoriously bad at this. It's a meme that we spend so much time and instead of ending up somewhere over here, we end up way, way down here. And in many cases, we end up past this line right here, which is worse than when we started with nothing on our mix at all. I call this the bypass line. And the bypass line is anything below here means that if you bypassed your plugins, your mix would sound better than it currently does. So this is a really depressing thing when it happens, and I've encountered a lot of people that struggle with this. How do we deal with this arc of art, and how do we know when to stop? Well, there's a couple things that we can do to maximize this. So let's talk about that. What can we do to maximize peak magic in all of our projects? Well, first and foremost, when you get to the first spot, you're working on a song and that first moment where you say, all right, this is kind of cool. Save and print, AKA bounce. So save your mix right there, save that as a copy of your session file. There's a couple different ways to do it in the different recording software, but it's pretty easy to do, save as. And then bounce a file down and put that in a folder and call it, first magic. Then keep working, and when you have another one of those moments where you're like, oh man, this is awesome, this is even more magic, Save again, bounce again, save all your work so that you can come back to this point. You're gonna hit peak magic, you're gonna wanna save and bounce that, but you're gonna think, oh, if I just do a little bit more to this mix, it's gonna keep getting better. Uh-oh. 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 Well, this is no big deal now, because before, what you might have been doing is just working and working and working and working and working and not saving any recallable spots in your mix. So by the time you're down here, to get your mix back to here is really, 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 really challenging. My first advice to you guys is save, and save often, and save versions of your work so that you can go back when you've started to notice, oh gosh, this is not good anymore. So another way that you can hack this, another way that you can make sure that you're maximizing peak magic for your projects is to take breaks, man. This is so important. The way our ears work is that when something's monotonous, when there's a sound that just again and again and again, our brains naturally tune that sound out to focus on changes in our environment. This is how we evolved as a species and how we protected ourselves. If we're like by a waterfall or it's a windy day, our ears tune that sound out so that we can pay attention to other sounds around us. So this is really important. Take breaks. I'd recommend taking at least 10 minutes off every hour that you work. Typically, when I see people struggle with this arc of art, it's because they work too many hours in a row. So this is a huge thing. If you just start taking breaks, and even in some cases, multiple days off in between working on a song, you'll find that your quality goes way, way, way up. So if this is something that you guys are interested in, if this is something that's been helpful to you, I have something I want to give you. It is a free quiz that you can take to help diagnose some of these issues of what's keeping you from hitting peak magic. I call it the Mix Polish Quiz. And if you go to mixpolish.com, you can take that quiz for free. It's awesome, and it's gonna really help you figure out what type of mixer you are and what types of things are keeping you from moving to the next level. So check it out, mixpolish.com. There's also a link in the description. I hope you guys have a great day. Please subscribe, like, all those things. I'll be dropping a video each week in 2019 on Mondays. Awesome. Have a great day. See you guys.